Okay, folks, this is my last video on this little carburetor for the Husqvarna leaf blower. I dipped the carburetor for about 2 hours. It looks like it's brand new. I need to get it in the camera for you to see. You can see it looks brand new. I dipped every metal part that goes on it. Like I said, it looks all brand new. I mean, I love chem dip. Okay, so anyway, let's start with the easy side. Okay. In the previous video, when I took this apart, I explained to you what this is right here, how these little flappers work with the air idle mixtures and all that good stuff. Okay, and then this is just a sealing gasket here. It's not pliable. It doesn't have any little flappers in it like this one does, like that flapper right there and right there. Okay, so the reason I'm telling you this is because this right here, this gasket goes on this. It doesn't go on the carburetor. Next to the carburetor, it goes here. And if you took this apart, you can see the old indentations in it, okay, where it was sitting on this cover. And then you also have two little nubs, one there and one there. It's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, that right there goes on first. Okay, and then this right here with the little flappers goes on. Get the camera here. I always forget to get in the camera. Okay, so there you go right there. Gasket to the back side, flappers, the pliable piece next, and then that's going to go in between the carburetor and this here. Okay, now you have to move this little throttle lever out of your way most of the time. Let's see if I can do this without having to do that. Yep, there we go. Okay, now this one here, it looks like I don't have my holes lined up correctly. I don't. It's a good thing I looked at that. Okay, let's go right there and right. Okay, I'm doing something wrong here. There we go. Now it's correct. Alright. Yeah, do what I just did and make sure that you don't have any gasket material or anything in the way of these screw holes right here, like I just did. Otherwise, you're going to really screw things up. Okay, this side takes these large head screws. Okay, put that one in. Put that one in. Get our Phillips screwdriver. I took this apart with a straight slot, but I'm putting it back together with a Phillips. It really doesn't matter. Whatever you feel comfortable with. Now, when you feel these start bottoming out, don't tighten them up like you're a He-Man. Just get them snug. Now this is where I like to use my straight slot because I can feel it better than a Phillips. Okay, so what I do now is I'm just going to give this about 10 foot-pounds. Just not real tight, not loose. Okay, and there's your idle screw that I told you about earlier that you didn't have to touch, and hopefully you didn't. Otherwise you're going to have to mess with it. Now we're going to go to this side. This is the side that I just... these little tiny parts are really hard to deal with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get my clamp, and I'm going to clamp this carburetor so that I don't have to hold it with my left hand and try to get these little tiny parts in. Okay. Very carefully make sure that when you clamp this little guy, see, I've got this inlet brass nozzle in my way right here, so I'm going to have to stay out of the way of that and not break it. Right there. There. Now everything's out of the way. And I basically got it set in a vise. Move these little parts out of the way. Tiny little things. I hope you're getting a good view on this shitty camera that I have. Oh, I wanted to tell you something. When you get done dipping your carburetor and you take it out of the chem dip, you want to rinse it off with water real well, because chem dip is pretty, it's a bad chemical for your hands and your eyes, and you just want to rinse that shit out of there. And then you want to take and you want to clean out all of these little tiny orifices in the carburetor, all over it, every one that you can see. And what I've done, I did this years ago, is I went and I bought a pack of electric guitar strings. Okay, it comes with 6 strings in it, of course. Okay, and they're all different sizes. And what I do is I cut about 4 inches off at the ball end, as you can see here in the camera. Actually, that's more than 4 inches. That's probably about 5. Okay, and after I cut that string off, I take the ball end and I put what's left of the string coming back around through it, as you can see, and that gives me a handle. If you can see that, okay, it's a handle so I can move this thing in and out, I can twist it, and I can clean all these orifices out. And like I said, there's 6 of them, all different sizes. I tell you what, I should patent this idea because it works magnificent on carburetors. But anyhow, little trick. I've explained this on other videos before too. But anyways, there you go. Set these aside. Alright, here comes the fun part. I find that little tiny spring that I put in here. There's a little tiny spring. There's a little tiny pin. Here's a little tiny screw that holds everything in. Alright, so the first thing that goes in is the last thing that you pulled out. And that's the needle. That little baby right there with a rubber tip. That regulates the fuel going into this carburetor. It stops fuel from coming in, and it lets it, you know, that's what it does. Once it's full, it's full. That's the hole that it goes in. Get my pointer out, it goes right there, okay? Now this is the difficult part right here. I hate doing this part. Spring sits right there. And I'll probably pop this spring and all this shit off of here a couple times before I get it right. Because it's just so tiny. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Is I'm going to pull that, I'm going to let that spring sit there. See, there it came out already. And I guarantee the same thing is going to happen to you guys. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach that needle to that bracket. I'm going to drop it all in on top of the spring. See that spring? Damn it. It's just really, really difficult. Maybe if I get this body of the carburetor up a little bit, that'll help. Like, it's not tall enough. That. There we go. Maybe that'll help me out. Okay. Set that spring back in there. Be patient, people, because you're going to go through the same thing. Okay, needle, the little pin that holds the bracket that moves it up and down all together. Very, very carefully try to drop this needle on right into the hole, and then the spring right in like that. Now I have this pin just a little bit off, so I'm going to have to push it in that way. Come on, sucker. There we go. Man, I do not want this to pop out of here. So now I got to put the screw in there. I know I look like I have absolutely no dexterity, but you'll know why when you try to do this yourself. Get my hand out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. All I'm doing is putting the screw down to hold that pin that holds all this together. Snug. Okay. Now what happens is there's a diaphragm that goes over the top of this, a rubber one, that I explained to you in the previous video when I pulled this carburetor apart. And what it does is it moves that up and down, okay? And when this thing is down like that, it lets fuel in. And when it's up, it doesn't let fuel in. Pretty simple operation, actually. Okay, so now I'm going to get the diaphragm. Here's the diaphragm, okay? This big side, as I said in the previous video, goes towards the needle, towards the carburetor. This side right here goes to the outside of the carburetor. Very important that you remember that. And then you can see these offset holes. You've got this one, that one, that one, and then this one's offset. This is not a complete square, and it matches up with this right here. Okay, so all you have to do is set that on there like that. Here's what holds it on, okay, as I showed you in the previous video. And here's a little nub right here. That little nub is intended to go into the gasket and into the carburetor body right here to help you guide this on and keep it in the right place. So what I do is I set it at an angle and I get it in that hole and then drop it like that. Take yourself your little pointer or whatever you can, line that gasket up correctly. Get your other two screws. These are the smaller head screws. It's pretty obvious that they're the ones that go in this side of the carburetor, because if you tried to put them in the other side, they won't fit. They'll just fall in there because they're smaller. Snug there. Get this down snug so we keep even pressure on that diaphragm. Now I'm going to go ahead and give it its last tightening. There's pretty snug. Snug. Okay. That feels really good. Get rid of the clamp now. I don't need that anymore. Okay, so I'm just about done putting this carburetor together. And I think how I explained it to you will help you a lot. Last two things I have to do is put these air idle screws in. In the previous video, I explained to you that there is a high idle screw and a low idle screw. And on this specific carburetor, it's stamped H right there, which means that's the high idle. And there's an L right there, which means that's low idle. And before you take these screws out, you count the turns, okay, that I explained in the previous video. And you also, once you get them out of here, you label them high and low, because they're different screws. So here's my high. I've already taken the tape off that had the H on it, okay? But here's what I used. I just used duct tape. Wrapped it around the screw and marked it low, okay? Let's see. There's the L. Anyhow, so we'll take the high idle screw, do that one first, and my little, what I call my Gary tool from my previous video, just a spade connector. Fit it over the top till it's nice and snug. Now, very gently start screwing that screw in there. I'm going to go ahead and push down on this a little bit more so I can feel when that screw bottoms out. Okay, she's bottomed out. Now I counted this, and this was like 2.5 turns. I don't believe that's proper. I'm going to start at 1 on both of them. And then, as I explained in the previous video, once you get it started, you can fine-tune them. Your low idle, of course, is when it's idling. If it's idling rough, you just get in there on the low idle screw, and you just turn it back and forth until it idles really well. And then you full throttle on the leaf blower. You know, put this spade connector on this high idle screw, full throttle, highest RPMs it's got. And if it's going, you know, if it's not running right and doesn't sound good, you just move this back and forth until it fine tunes right into where it runs perfectly. It's just it's really simple. I'm going to go ahead and turn this out 1 turn for my altitude. Okay, there's a half. There's 1. Okay, high idle screw is out 1 full turn. Set the carburetor right here for a sec. One thing about this duct tape is it's a pain in the ass to get back apart. Okay, make sure your screws are very clean. Okay, here's your low idle screw. This time I'm going to go ahead and push it in before I put it into the carburetor, so I know that it's in there really well. Okay, low idle screw, low idle side. There's the stamped L right there. Go ahead and put her in. Very gently, make sure that it's threading in right and not cross-threading. These are long-winded screws, I tell you what. You know, if you do this a lot, you're going to wear these things out. You'll have to put them away and get another one. They're just plastic, but okay, it's bottomed out. Okay, this one I'm going to go out 1 turn too. So backwards, 1/2, One full turn. And there you have a rebuilt, clean, I'm just going to call it a brand new carburetor. I'm not going to video me putting it back on the machine, because if you took it off, you know how to put it back on. It's really simple. So there you go, folks. I hope that helped you. If you like this video, give me a like on Bluffdale Garage on Facebook, and I'd really appreciate it. And you have a good night.